Okay, so this is a lecture on understanding advanced persistent threats. The whole process behind this is that you get in, you stay in as long as possible, and you learned a lot of the basic techniques in this class. So we're going to kind of review some of the stuff you've done. So what is an APT, right? An advanced persistent threat usually refers to a group such as a foreign government. So Chinese, North Koreans, Cubans, Americans, French, English, Spanish. Everybody plays this game. This game is cheap, it's easy, it's really inexpensive. Even the Taliban plays this game, right? Because we all want to learn cool stuff. The intent is to persistently and effectively target a specific entity. So if I really wanted to go after a company or somebody, then I'm going to put a focus on them for that. Term is commonly used to refer to cyber threats, in particular internet-enabled espionage, right? Espionage is where the money's at, because if you can get something early, you can do so much better with it. So from the stories of yesteryear, BMW spent an awful lot of money to design an advanced, really advanced diesel engine that would get 50 to 60 miles to the gallon. And 15 years ago, this was like, wow, that's a lot of miles per gallon. The bad part is that that engine design was stolen out of their own servers and then registered as a patentable item in South Korea, which means BMW lost the billions of dollars they invested to develop this engine. Right? That's exactly it. You go in, you steal something, you patent it someplace else. Australia's got that problem right now because of all these junk patents coming out of China. Stuff they've stolen from various countries and various companies. Chinese will then go patent it in Australia, and because of Pacific trade agreements and free trade agreements, an Australian patent is as good as an American patent. So Pfizer Pharmaceuticals goes and finds out the next AIDS curing, cancer curing drug. The Chinese steal it and patent it in Australia, and Pfizer Chemicals is out of the game. Tyco. It's happened to Tyco trains, not just big things, little toys. Right? It's happened to a lot of people along the way. To recognize attack vectors include infected media. If you find a USB stick in the parking lot, for the love of God, don't plug it into a computer. Very simple. But studies have shown that 75% of people that pick up a USB stick in the middle of a parking lot will plug it into the work computer to see what's on it. Dead straight. Supply chain compromise. If I can get into anywhere into Apple's supply chain, I am one lucky happy camper, right? Because then I can divert things. You want an iPhone 5 shortage? I can hook you up. Just give me a couple $100 million and we'll do it. No kidding. And social engineering. Yo, hey, Jacob, I hear your girlfriend likes anime. Do you mind if I send her a couple of files? She'd open them. Just because they're infected with my malware of choice doesn't mean that she doesn't represent an interesting target, because she does. Because of who she interfaces with and where she is all the time. She's hanging out with her arty friends. She's hanging out on DeviantArt. If I can get her to upload one of my pictures or one of her pictures that I've infected into DeviantArt, then I own the DeviantArt community. And since I am a member of DeviantArt, I will go to that page. I will download that infected file. Then it's on my box, and all of a sudden it's in the security community. Weakness chain. Who's connected to who, right? Individuals, such as an individual hacker, are not usually referred to as an APT. I can't be one. If I am a part of an organization, then by all means I can be. So I'm not special alone. I'm special as part of a team, right? And the idea is that we want into the target, we want to save it, we want to be there, and it's for a specific group or target or company or something, right? Broadmere, Kilger, Carpenter, and Jones defined what an APT is. Objectives. The end goal of the threat is your adversary. So I hate corner comics. They're going down. Right? So if I put a skimmer on corner comics' credit card swipe, I'm good to go, because it will look like corner comics. It won't look like me. Timeliness. Time spent probing and accessing your system. I want in fast. I want that toehold. Yesterday during PRCCDC, the team setup, one person left one account unattended. And from there I was able to access every single one of the 8 workstations that the team was working on, and left behind nice sweet little text documents that thank God no one opened up. Because if you had, it would have just burrowed in deeper into the computer system. Resources. Level of knowledge and tools used in this event. You can go out to the site I showed you guys on Monday and pull down tools that are absolutely effective. You've been learning Metasploit. Did you know that in Metasploit you can create a custom malware PDF with funny cat pictures? And they'll open it up and they'll get to see funny cat pictures, and then their computer will be infected, open up a link back to you, and you're done. You're good to go. Right? Very simple. You got all this stuff for free. Didn't have to pay a dime, and you already know how to do this. You've already got the resources. Risk tolerant. The extent that the threat will go to remain undetected. So when I was going through yesterday, I was trying to do some IDS evasion once Jen decided to tell me, oh, I see all this traffic off your box. She didn't see any other traffic for the rest of the day. Right? So I evaded the entire IDS system that they put in place, mostly by going out and just jamming what was going on the network. Skills and methods, the tools and techniques used throughout the event. You guys have been learning this all the way through this term. Right? So you're already there. This whole class, if you decided to really, really, really hate Highline, could bring this college to its knees in about 15 minutes. So don't hate Highline. We're a good college, and we love you, all of you. Right? All of you individually, as people, we love you.
Where your dreams can be pursued.
Yes, exactly. Actions. The precise actions of the threat or numerous threats. Right? Just because I do it once doesn't mean I'm not going to come in about 8 different ways of doing something. Right? There's always more than one way to do something horrible. Attack organization points, the number of points where the event originated. If I get 1 box, I can have 2. If I have 2 boxes, I can have 4. I'm just going to grow geometrically across your network. I got 1 box in PRCCDC, and within 20 minutes, I had all of them. And I'm happy with that, because that's where I had to stop. That's all that there were available to me. All right? Numbers involved in the attack, how many internal and external systems were involved in the event, and how many people's systems have different influence or important weights. So if I'm going to go after somebody through a social engineering and I want to send them to a specific site, I want to hack that specific site. One of the things that made the Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook attacks so good was that they're actually able to go in and attack a programmer coder site, put in some malware then took that job a 0 day, then all of a sudden these computers within these organizations are infected. And yes, I do want into Facebook, and yes, I definitely want into Microsoft and Apple, right? Because from there I expand laterally across the board. I have 1 box, I start going for broke. How far can I go? Because that box looks like a trusted box. Numbers involved in an attack, how many are knowledge source, the ability to discern any information regarding any specific threats through online information gathering. You know, you might be surprised what you can find if you just go Google your company. And that was one of the reasons why we taught you Google hacking early on. That was your first little win. Was because you guys saw exactly how many crappy security engineers there are out there on the network. Which is then, at that point, I made you raise your right hand and go, I will not be this security engineer. Right? Honestly. Security engineers are people, and we are just as messed up as anybody else. So, actors behind how this happens, right? And you'll see this nice little happy circle wheel. It never stops, right? In '99, we were worried about SQL. Worried about databases. Oh my God, we're all going to die. Let the panic reign. We're all going to die because of databases. In 2006, oh my God, we're all worried about databases. Holy crap, we're all going to die. 2013, we're back into databases again. Oh my God, we're all going to die. Guarantee you the next one's either going to be, we're back to Java again. Next one's going to be HTML5. I'll put $50 on that one, that the next, oh my God, we're all going to die, is going to be HTML5. We'll also round robin on Ruby on Rails and on PHP at some point in the next 5 years as well. So this whole Chicken Little thing, oh my God, we're all going to die, run around in circles. Remember the fine Navy phrase, when in trouble or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. Right? The press and the media are good at getting people to run around in circles. So we get all spun up, we devote resources and money and time to a specific thing, and then we clear that problem, and all of a sudden PHP, Ruby on Rails, more stuff comes along, and then we're kind of doomed. We're always doomed. All right? But I want to target a specific organization for a singular objective. I want to target Highline Community College so I can get into the student database and change your grades. That sounds like a worthy objective. Attempt to gain a foothold in the environment, including common tactics, including spear phishing emails. Hey, Dan, can you take a look at this PDF I made? Because I think I've got this thing right, but I can't get it to work in Word, so I sent you it as PDF because then I can get the images to go. I'm going to fall for that, especially if it comes from a student. Am I going to verify it came from a student? No. But I would go look at it, and then I'm doomed. You're in. Done. Use of the compromised system is access to the target network. So you take over my computer upstairs, or my computer down here, and from there you have access to the entire 10 network, the internal network for Highline. And you're going to find all sorts of groovy things on this network. We're academics. We're not security engineers. We do stupid stuff. Right? Deploy additional tools to help fill out the attack objective. Go right after the meteorology office because they've left every single file share on their systems read, write, global. You know what's fun is when you can go in and change the reporting station down here in South Seattle and the whole South Tacoma area to 456 degrees, 100% humidity, looking like Armageddon. And it gets reported by King TV. I like that. That's fun. Right? Then I'm going to cover my tracks to maintain access because I'm going to try to blame it on Amelia. Right? Honestly, that's exactly how this works. Been doing this for decades. And you guys have been doing it for the last 8 weeks. And you've been successful at it for the last 8 weeks. Now imagine what would happen if you walked into a nonprofit that has no such thing as a security engineer on board. Or if you walked into an equally weak organization, whether it's a bank, internal banks. We all love each other. We're one great big happy Windows network. Or we're all one great big happy Linux network. And someone makes one small boo-boo and you're in. You're good to go. So this is why we covered what we covered in this class. And this is why this makes these connections so important. Multi-go. You just developed a method and standard to identify interesting targets within an organization that we can social engineer. While you guys started off with me, I've had students find ex-husbands that owed them back child support, and that was entertaining. Right? Honestly. You now know how to pull a background investigation. You know how to search on someone's email address. You know how to find them in Google. You need to know how to find out what makes them interesting. And then you can engage in conversation. Right? That's where Multigo falls in. Metasploit. You can rewrite URLs and PDFs and other items, including dynamic link libraries. Funny cat picture. Click here. Right? To go and take over someone's box. So we can hack a system, leaving behind a username and password for access later on. ZenMap lets identify interesting targets of convenience on the network. Remember, low-hanging fruit on this one. We go for the weakest of the lot, and from there we branch off laterally. You took a Windows box. You were proud and happy and good. Now you're working on the Linux box. It's a little bit harder. But people aren't going to think my Linux box is going to get hacked. They'll look at my Windows boxes first. So I go from Windows straight into Linux, and boom, I'm done. They'll go and clean up the Windows box, but odds are highly likely they'll forget about the Linux box along the way. Right? So you've touched on each one of these parts of an APT. Steps. Initial compromised. Performed by the use of social engineering, spear phishing, over email, using a zero-day virus or other popular infection method. Boom, you're in the door. Done. You identify your interesting person and you start conversing with them. Hey, I noticed that you were on this toy train forum and so am I, and here's a picture of my toy train. What do you think? That picture is compromised. Boom, you own their computer. Happy days. Right? Establish a foothold. Well, now that I've got happy days going on your computer, I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of software on your box, which is why I kept on saying, put a keystroke logger on that puppy. Do some screen capture software. Let's find out what other people are doing on that box so we can go and then capture credentials along the way. Now, the even cooler part would be is if we slow down that victim's computer so that a system administrator will come and log in locally on the box. So I can do this, because who's the first person who's going to call for slowdowns? Help desk. Help desk always has a system administrator password. Keystroke loggers rock. Escalate privileges. Well, now that I've got the system administration password for that box, and maybe that will work on other boxes, because companies are what? Homogeneous. They're uniform. Their whole thing is off one image. So odds are highly likely that local administrator means it's local administrator for everybody. All right, it's now Christmas. There's no snow. You're in the Bahamas. There's a margarita in your hand. You're ready to rock and roll. Right? Internal reconnaissance. Boom. Bring in ZenMap. Put it on a couple different boxes and do a nice low and slow, nice crawl along the network and see what you got. Right? Nice, slow. Gonna not trip anything up and look normal. Right? Once you've got that, move laterally. Just start taking over everything you can. Just keep on going. Huh?
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Right? Maintain presence. That's the big one, right? That's why I had you guys make the user account. So you can go back in if I erase your account. You want to own the box, right? And then complete the mission. Steal the data, because the data is what's valuable. If you steal 1 million credit cards, a credit card with a good CVV and a good username and a good expiration date goes for $1 a piece. Well, if you steal 1 million of them, that's $1 million. That's a party and a half, right? That's at least a really nice car, right? Sports car, driving around, no problem. And again, that's what your mission is. Steal the plans for an advanced hybrid motor that works off electricity and gasoline, and then go ahead and patent it in South Korea and in Australia. Not a bad day's work, because now they have to license that patent from your holding company, or better yet, sell that patent to a patent troll down in Texas and let them deal with the work. You just take the money for selling the patent and then head on out of town, right? It's those little things that make money, and that's why we go into the box. Then, once we're in, so this is an actual picture from what's called a SCADA system, right? So SCADA is actually what we use to command and control nuclear reactors and water plants and all the rest of it. This is actually from a power generation system in Helena, Montana. They left their entire read-only entry for what's going on in that water power plant open to the internet. And one of the people in this class discovered it, which I am enormously happy for you guys doing so, because then we contact them and they say, oh, it's not that big an issue, we're fine. So if you're thinking about cyber war, it's these kind of people that we got to deal with, right? People that don't see risk the same way we do. If they think it's perfectly okay to leave the read-only viewpoint on it open, well, if I'm poking around in other systems, then I can sit here and monitor what system I'm poking around in, because it's going to send me alert messages. All right, how APTs happen. Abuse and compromise of trusted connections is a key ingredient. People, SSL, VPNs, anything. Trusted connections between business partners. If I get into any part of Apple's supply line, then I am all the way through Apple's supply line, right? One weak person, and I'm into the entire Apple supply line. And then I can hold the entire iPhone 5 and iPad mini production for hostage. That's a good day's work. I'm happy with that, right? As such, almost any organization or remote site can fall victim to this, right? Because we all not only have trusted connections, but we have insider threats, right? So what happens if I get really, really, really pissed off at Highline, and I don't think I have anything left to lose?
They go down.
They go down and they never come back up, right? This is why most people don't want me on their network. I'm okay with that. It's a realistic threat. Good thing I'm not that angry. Subcontractor. What happens if we subcontract something out and they feel like they just got ripped off? When they find out they're getting paid $25 an hour, but their charge rate's $250. So that means the company's pocketing $225 of their hourly charge rate. Now that's going to tick people off, because usually it's 50-50 or even 40-60. I would at least get, $100 of that. So, angry much? Social engineering, funded placement. Oh, hey, maybe if I got a job in your company as a spy, I collect money from two different sides of the fence. Spying is a time-honored, true tradition. It's been going on since Babylon. You put a mole in the enemy camp and you let them do their thing. Criminal break-in, right? Dual-use software installation. If you buy a gray market router, make sure that that router is actually yours and doesn't have extra commands embedded into the firmware. And that's one of the things that's got a lot of people worried about with the F-35 plane project right now. We are the only country that farmed out advanced avionics ever for a fighter plane. And because of that, a lot of the programs and bits and chips and all the rest of it were not built in America by American companies. And now what they're worried about with the F-35 is that there's actually malware embedded in the command and control system for that fighter jet. It is a $1.6 trillion project, and now we're worried about the security of a fighter jet, where if I send it the right signal, that jet can just suddenly lose power. And if a jet loses power, the only thing a pilot can do is eject. But then there's your $285 million stealth fighter down the drain. What a beautiful, beautiful short duration dogfight. Press a button, everybody goes dark. It had worked in Battlestar Galactica. They're worried about it in real life. Does everybody remember Battlestar Galactica, the first one, where you have the Cylons doing that thing, and then all of a sudden the little Vipers things just go down, they go dark? That's what they're worried about this in real life. That was actually something out of real life, which I thought was interesting. All right, so this is one of the things that kind of interests me, and I'm going to hope and pray that I can actually make this thing work. So this is actual video from Mandiant that covers exactly what you guys have been doing, exposing one of China's espionage units. So I'm going to hopefully get this thing to play without killing off the microphone too bad. Okay, that's what I thought. So let me just make one. Okay, I do not want to listen to this device. Very good. Okay, so let's go back to here. Just because I wasn't sure if it was going to actually work in the slides, but this is something I want you guys to really kind of pay attention to.
Threat Intelligence Center. The series of videos shows a live APT-1 Chinese threat actor conducting computer network espionage activities. We will see him take a variety of actions affecting real victims. All identities have been anonymized.
All right. Crash reports. I love it.
Welcome to a special presentation by Mandiant Activities. We will see him take a variety of actions affecting real victims. All identities have been anonymized to protect the innocent. This video shows the APT-1 actor Dota creating an operational email account. He is using a US IP address to sign up for the account. Notice that he initially leaves his country location as the default United States. However, Google then asks Dota for a verification phone number, and Dota changes his country location to China. He then inputs the phone number 159-2193-7729, where the 2193 indicates a number that China Mobile allocated to Shanghai. Dota immediately provides a verification code showing that he had the phone with him at the time. Here we see Dota logging into one of his operational email accounts. He has used this account for spear phishing and generating additional email accounts. The inbox shows confirmation emails for additional accounts that Dota created, as well as bounces and non-delivery receipts for spear phishing messages, most of which seem to be focused on military exercises in the Philippines. Notice that Gmail generates a suspicious login warning, informing Dota that the IP address 58.247.245.236, which is part of one of APT-1's home ranges, was used to log into the account. Dota now moves to his sent mailbox, which shows that he has sent emails, probably test messages, to someone with the name MyChang82. We believe this is the super hard persona. Here is an APT-1 actor installing a Ghost Rat command and control server on a hotpoint and testing it to make sure it works. He installed the Ghost Rat backdoor on his own system in Shanghai. We can see that the system, with hostname HP Trojan Tools and with Shanghai IP address 58.247.238.57, check into the Ghost Rat server. Note that many backdoor C2 servers allow attackers to interact with victim systems using a graphical user interface. Ghost Rat is an example of this. The APT-1 actor checks to make sure he can interact with the Ghost Rat backdoor on his test system by listing the drives on that system and starting a command shell. He then uninstalls the backdoor on his test system. Here an APT-1 actor uses a Web C2 head command and control server. In contrast to the Ghost Rat interface, which was graphical, this one is command line driven. The APT-1 actor uses the L command to listen for incoming victim backdoor connections, and two victim systems check in. From here, the APT-1 actor tries to issue a command to one of the victim backdoors. He has some difficulty. We have not included the next hour of video in which he struggles and fails to interact with the victim backdoors. Here we see an APT-1 actor running HTRAN. This tool enables communication between a victim IP address and the actor's Shanghai IP address. Now an APT1 actor is verifying that stolen credentials will work on a Microsoft Exchange email server. He logs in successfully with a stolen username and password, and then lists the contents of the victim's mailbox. The scrolling numbers are the numbered messages, followed by the size of each message. Here we see an APT1 actor establishing an FTP session with 58.247.26.20, an IP address in one of the APT1 home Shanghai ranges. APT1 actors often transfer their tools from their Shanghai systems to their hop infrastructure using FTP. The APT1 actor is going to the FTP server to retrieve the Lightbolt tool, which is named exploie.exe. During this session, he lists other files that are hosted on the FTP server, which include tools, including what are probably HTRAN and GetMail, and attachments for spear phishing, for example, salaryadministrationpolicy.zip and Social Security reform.pdf. Now the APT1 actor uses Lightbolt to steal files. The Lightbolt tool has an embedded stolen certificate that allows APT1 to access web pages not available on the web. Here the APT1 actor uploads a RAR archive to his Shanghai system using FTP. The Lightbolt tool saves stolen web files to a RAR archive. For more information on this Mandiant Threat Intelligence Center report, please visit www.mandiant.com.
Okay, so this is where you guys have done exactly that. Now, here's the part that's going to crack me up the most. If you have infiltrated a Chinese gang, or an American gang, or any other gang, and you are doing screen captures and screen recordings of everything they're doing on the screen, you have infiltrated the bejesus out of them. So they're no longer a threat because you're watching the crap out of them, right? If you are in their servers doing stuff, they're not an issue anymore. Yes, sir. No, the microphone is back on. It's good. So you can see from this little guy running. All right. So if you are running a hacking gang and people are recording what you're doing and then showing video on YouTube of what you're up to, you're not a very good gang. Just saying. All right. So when you find something awesome, and thank you very much, young lady, because you are the next picture. When you find a username and a password for a router on the internet for a banking system, your day is done. You're good to go. You just log into the router and walk about your way. You find awesome when you find passwords, configurations, databases, email. Once you've got that, that whole company is yours. The even really good part is that the username and password to this is actually of a bank that just got busted for transferring hundreds of billions of dollars of fraudulent transactions out of Mexico for the drug cartels. So if I am a hacktivist and I have this username and password to a router into that bank, oh, how much fun am I going to have? Think about the political motivations that you can do, because people do things for hacktivism. However, the United States government is having a very hard time with hacktivism. Things like WikiLeaks, things like Aaron Swartz, things and all the rest of that nature, is that these are not becoming a legal prosecution, these are becoming a political prosecution. And a political prosecution like Al Capone means you're going to jail forever. Right? Aaron Swartz was looking at 100 years for what he did. A rapist will get 3. Think about it. So, trust people. You can trust people and you can trust your career on the following. You can trust people that they'll take shortcuts. Right? Not think that they could be the victim of social profiling or grooming because I'm nobody. You know, I tell you what, secretaries are awesome because what do secretaries have? Keys to the kingdom. Always. Every single one I've ever met knows where all the bodies are buried, and that's usually on her computer. To Friday their job, and when I mean that you're Fridaying a job, it's Friday afternoon, you got the weekend ahead of you, you want to go home. Right now I'm Fridaying my job because I got Emerald City Comic Con tomorrow. I'm out of here, right? Not pay attention. We're not paying attention to what we're doing, so we're not following what we need to do. To forget details, everyone's really good at forgetting little details. Right, that little detail yesterday that got me into all the boxes along all of PRCCDC. It was awesome. And then trust them to get around roadblocks. Security policies are awesome. Security software is awesome. It gets in the way of people doing their job, so they'll turn it off. If they can't turn it off, they'll find some other way to circumnavigate what you're doing. Block Reddit at work? Well, we'll just use a proxy out there. I don't care if it's in Russia. I want to read what's going on in the AW category so I can see cute, pretty animals. They will do these things. Count on it. Somebody blocks a website. There's even a WordPress module called Repress that will allow you to circumnavigate stuff. So I can set up my own WordPress blog out there, put Repress on it, and I can go surf anything I want to go surf out there in the real world. Right? That was when I was in China this last summer. That was one of the ways I was able to get to the news that I wanted to get to, because Reddit's blocked by China. Put Repress on my blog, boom. So they didn't know about my blog. That's cool. I'm too small. Right? All right. Evading capture. See if we can get this one to work. Another nice propaganda piece. Security engineers do not dress like this. We do not work in office like that. We do not have meeting rooms like that. We have duct tape on our shoes.
Hi, my name is Mark Boltz, Senior Solutions Architect here at Stonesoft Corporation, and today we'd like to talk to you about a new evasion technique that our research and development team has come up with. These new advanced evasion techniques combine different types of evasion tactics to bypass any kind of existing intrusion prevention system in the marketplace today and make the evasion and the exploit completely undetectable by the network security technology. In this first example to demonstrate advanced evasion techniques, we are going to send an exploit originally used by the configure worm several years ago to a target system with no evasion techniques in use. This will demonstrate that the intervening intrusion prevention system, which is an up-to-date leading market brand system, will actually detect that exploit and stop it in its tracks. We use the tool here on the left, the Predator tool developed by Stonesoft Research and Development, to launch this exploit. When we launch the exploit, we see that the exploit has immediately failed due to the intervening intrusion prevention system. If I then refresh the log data on that system, we can see that there is a new entry showing that the attack was successfully detected and blocked, as one would expect from any leading IPS system today. If we then clear this out and reset the system to launch the same attack again, using the same exploit, but this time we use advanced evasion techniques. By selecting a combination of these systems, the permutations become almost endless. This is one of the strengths of advanced evasion techniques, that any combination of different evasions can be factored together to create new overall evasion techniques that can bypass any existing intrusion prevention system. In this particular combination, I have two different evasion techniques coupled with the exploit that I want to deliver. The same exploit will be delivered now to the target system, and now the attack goes through. I see that I now have shell access to the target system. It is now compromised and is mine to own and do with as I please as the attacker. And over here in the intrusion prevention system that should have caught this vulnerability, I have no new updates available. And the system was completely incapable of detecting the same exploit using these new advanced evasion techniques. It's these new evasion techniques and their combinations, which are virtually limitless, that lead Stonesoft to believe that more research should be put into evasion techniques in general, and coming up with new ways to stop these advanced evasion techniques from being successful in compromising network systems. Stonesoft Research and Development is also working actively within the security community, briefing analysts, security experts, and the CERT coordination centers around the world to make sure that all of the affected vendors can have an understanding of how advanced evasion techniques work and how they can now develop solutions to prevent these techniques from working in the future and possibly compromising network security around the world. Thank you.
All right. So, evasion, that's part of the game. If you know that they've got something on their box, right, you want to get around it. You really do want to try to get around it, at least as much as you can. All right. So, Anti-evading stuff is good. Always good. Again, when Jen pointed out, oh, I can see where you're coming from, I went to someplace else and Jen didn't see me for the rest of the day. If Jen hadn't said, oh, I see all this traffic from your box, I would have been stupid and kept it up. Right? So 5 ways. 5 ways you can know if you have me or you on your own network. Right? Increase and elevated logons late at night. This is one of the big things that people are going and saying that this is one of the big things you should worry about. Late at night's kind of cool, right? Because you will still see that among the newbies. But if you really want to be effective at it, you're going to see a lot of logins and extra ones during change of shift. Right? If you know that everyone comes into the company between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., that's a beautiful 3-hour window for you to log in at. Because they expect that. There's all of these people logging in. All right? If they start shutting down the company at 4 to 7, then log in where people are logging off. That would work too. All right? Just because they're in China doesn't mean that they don't work in shifts and won't wait for you to get to that golden hour of 7 to 10. Just because you're in America and you're working for someplace doesn't mean you're not going to push off that 8-hour window back to the UK and go see what's going on over there at the Ministry of Defense. Stuff they won't show the Americans. Right? Number 2, finding widespread backdoor Trojans. If you find really cool, sweet, neat trip technology on your boxes, you should probably assume that your entire network's been exploited. Right? You can pretty much make a good assumption on that one. And that's when you have to go into lockdown mode and you need to figure out just how bad off you really are. Right? So once discovered, hackers don't go away. Right? Remember, our goal was to get in there and stay in there as long as possible. Just because you found one of my nasty sweet treats doesn't mean that I don't have about a dozen others all over the place. Right? Because I would be foolish if I used the same trick all the way across the network. I'm going to vary my methods. I'm going to vary what software I use. Right? Unexpected information flows. If you see gigabits of data going out your network and you didn't expect it, worry. Worry a lot. Right? If you see unauthorized copies of your database floating around on some share somewhere, some computer in a closet, worry a lot. Right? Because the thing I need to do is, now that I've got your network and I've got my data, I need to move it off your network. Right? And if I'm going to move it off your network, I'm going to choose a time and place where it's the most convenient to move it off the network. Right? And I'll probably take it in little bits and pieces. Everybody knows how Windows updates using something called trickle technology. Right? You know, you can buy that as an individual package and you can actually trickle data back to your main hotpoint so that no one sees that traffic going out. It will update and send traffic over days rather than one big pull. Because again, remember, I don't want to get caught if all of a sudden 3 gigs of data leaves your network at 10 o'clock at night, and you're going to see that spike in your monitoring for your network usage. People will question that. If I can trickle the data back to me, most people see it as normal. I like normal. Normal is good because normal fits into what the network people are doing, and I won't get noticed. I don't want to get noticed. All right? 4, unexpected data bundles. I need to aggregate stolen data to internal collection points unless I've actually put in a stored procedure into your database to send me a copy every time somebody updates something. Right? So I have to bundle it somewhere. So if you find a big, vast repository of data on someone's workstation, it may not be them, it may be me. All right? So figure out how that workstation is being accessed. All right? Pass the hash hacking tools. One of the things that I did yesterday to kill everybody off the network because they ticked me off was do what's called a hash collision. Right? So a hash collision, and it's part of your Metasploit package. You can do the same thing and knock this whole network off, right? And really annoy your friends and family. Is that when a Windows computer goes on the network, it's assigned a hash. And then that hash is kept in the domain controller so they know who they're talking to. If I send the domain controller a hash with a different IP address, the domain controller thinks that there's been a collision. 2 hashes can't be the same, so we'll drop both computers off the network. So if you go in and you talk to the domain controller and you pull all the hashes for all the computers and then resend them across a bunch of different IP addresses, the Active Directory controller will drop every single computer off the network and force them to relog into the domain.
So isn't that only if you're using NTLM?
No.
Kerbal soup.
Yep. Remember, it's good times. All right. This is why you learned what you learned in this class. All the tools that you used in this class are part of that whole threat model, APT. Right? And you kind of learned it in a really junior basic way. Right? And that's why we had you sign the ethic agreements that we signed. Right? Because if you decide to go outside the confines of this room and practice your skills at home, odds are highly likely you're going to get caught, because there's a lot of things you guys still don't know how to do yet. Right? So, but you know how to do it. You know how to identify a person. You know how to take over a box. You know how to send them malformed stuff. You know how to drop and purge a network. You know how to break into someone's box. You know how to make a user account. You know how to deface things. That's all part of this whole thing. So if you see it on a network when you're in there being security engineers, right, you know what you're looking for now. And that's really the goal behind this class, right? Because if you know how to do it, then you know what to look for. And if you know what to look for, you know how to protect your company. And if you know how to protect your company, you're going to be one awesome information security engineer, right? There's a lot of people out there that don't know what this stuff looks like, that are security engineers. There are policy, plans, procedures, all right? But they don't know the same things you guys know when rubber meets the road. So that's why this class is actually really kind of cool that I get to teach it, all right? Because if you know how to do it, you know what to look for. If you know what to look for, you know how to stop it. Or at least you know what you're up against, right? And that's the big one. Sometimes knowing what you're up against is even more important than what they're actually doing. So it kind of makes sense? And that's it. It's the end of the slideshow. So any questions on this one? Kind of fun? Everybody wide awake?
Root.
Yes, sir.
How do companies employ penetration testing safely?
All right. The question was, how do companies employ penetration testing safely? There's kind of two ways about this. All right. One, they'll usually have an internal hack and pen team that will, on schedules, go through and make sure everything on the network is still clean. Right. So when I was working at a major company, every Thursday would be our scanning day. Right. So we would take segment by segment. We'd never do the whole network. We'd do it segment by segment by segment, all the way through the rest of the day, and then spend the rest of the week making sure everything, reading the logs that we generated. Another thing that people have to do for Sarbanes-Oxley compliance is hire an outside third-party pen test to sign off on the company saying, yes, the company is secure, or no, you need to fix these things. One of the things I've noticed about some third-party pen testers is you really have to be careful what you purchase, right? You have to make sure that if you're going to have a third party come in, that they are better than your current security team, right? Because your current security team is going to leave nice little neat things for your third-party pen test to find. And if the third-party pen test doesn't find them, your security group is going to discount everything that that third-party pen test group comes in and says, right? And I've seen this every time I do this. I have never seen an exception to that rule. So you have to really vet your third party and make sure that they are tons better than your internal team. And there are some internal teams that are impeccable, that are just amazingly good, that a third party can't even shine a light on.
Now, do the pen testers do their penetration testing on a test system?
No, usually the pen test group tries for a couple of days or a week from the outside in. So they're looking at web servers and everything else that we call public. And then they come in, they sit in the office for a week and play Rogue Insider. So usually it's a 2-week process. So any other questions? No? All right. You can go back to playing now. Thank you for putting up with this one. Again, I just thought it was really kind of important to let you know that we're all running around like idiots going, oh my God, we're all going to die. But the real thing is that if we're into these hacker networks the way we're into them, the way I know we're into them, right? If we can screen record everything they're doing, really, it's a beautiful piece of propaganda. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.